All right. So I was going to leave it alone. Y'all have to believe me. I leave a lot of stuff alone. But Justin King continues to post some hella cringe that somebody has got to call out, and that person is going to be me. So I'm going to explain the title here. But let's go ahead and I'm going to rewind this back a little bit and let's make sure what he says. Okay.
Well, howdy there, Internet people.
He is, I don't know why he's so huge on this. Well, we need to take in refugees, bro. I don't know why he's so like this. I think that he just wants to prove that he's not racist, I think. I don't know. It's like he said this over and over, and obviously, he has allowed, refugees from, I think, Kazakhstan and whatnot to work in hotels in Florida in, not so great conditions. But of course, people poo-poo that away and everything. Oh, well, just because he's working for the government, this and that, such is the way, right? Let's go ahead and let's hear what he has to say.
Bo again. So today we are going to talk about a number that gets thrown around a lot anytime the subject of migrants comes up. It shows up anytime somebody wants to say we can't let everybody in, even though there are very, very few people suggesting that we just let everybody in. But the idea is that there are 750 million refugees that want to come to the United States. 750 million. That is a whole lot. Now, there's a number of parts to this little talking point. The first and most obvious is that, well, we can't take that many. We don't have the space and there'll be a drain on our economy, right? The next part of this is it reinforces that idea, that dream that, America, land of the free, home of the brave, all immigrants want to come here and all of that stuff. Okay, so let's just run through the propaganda side of it. Let's not debunk it yet. Let's just address it as it is.
Mm-hmm.
We can't take that many. Yes, we can. We actually could. China has...
See, the thing... Hold on. So the thing is, we actually physically could take that many people, but could we house them? Could we get them all jobs? Could everything else? Like I said, you're going to create huge tensions. If we took that many people in, there are plenty of people who don't have jobs, me included. I'm going to, hopefully, I'll get a phone call today probably where they're going to say,
Let's go out.
Hey, come on. All right. Edit.
9.3 million square miles. The United States has 9.1 million. China currently has a population of 1.4 billion.
Mm-hmm.
If we were to take all 750 million refugees that are claimed by this statement, we would be at about 1.1 billion.
Mm. And where would these people go? Where would they go? Would there, like I say, this sounds like what would occur with the 2015 migrant crisis. Where would these people be sent? Where would they have vocational training? Would there be a match to say, oh, you're a doctor? Oh, do you speak English? Okay, well, here you go. Where would this take place? Are you going to have huge cities that are built for these folks? This sounds very, very reminiscent of an argument used by Matthew Yglesias. Matthew Yglesias, well known on right-wing Twitter for being the cringe shitlib that he is, promoted this idea of 1 billion Americans. The case of thinking bigger, basically what he wants to do is to allow all these refugees to come in so that we can go toe-to-toe with China. Ignoring, of course, the fact that in general, China is united in their beliefs, and China is, has a vision for the future, whereas the United States in general does not. The United States does not have a united people. They do not have a vision for the future. They don't. This is why, like I say, people bring it up all the time. But as people have said through, research and everything else, a lot of Chinese students want to become astronauts. What do American students want? They want to become YouTube streamers or Twitch streamers, or they want to get their OnlyFans. That's America. Yeah. So, basically, yeah. Yeah. From one of our foremost policy writers, 1 billion Americans is a provocative yet logical argument that if we aren't moving forward, we're losing. Vox founder Yglesias invites us to think bigger while taking the problems of decline seriously. What really contributes to national prosperity should not be controversial. Supporting parents and children, welcoming immigrants and their contribution. Wait a minute. Supporting parents and children, that's not happening. Welcoming immigrants, we do that already, and their contributions, and exploring creative policies that support growth, like more housing. Once again, prices are being jacked up in terms of how, in terms of wood, for example, that price is huge. I was reading, ironically, a Vox article that said, that there are 80 million homes in the United States, right? But to move further on to that point, though, is houses aren't being built. They've been taken over. A lot of this has been taken over by the landlords, and of course people are talking about, fuck BlackRock, this and that. Yeah, absolutely, fuck BlackRock. But I don't think BlackRock is the biggest issue. Landlords and other folks, and like I said, you even see it on HGTV, right? Since the 2008 financial crisis, huge amount of folks have, like I said, you'll see all these folks on HGTV. We're going to be flipping houses, and we made $10,000, or we made $50,000, through expenses and everything else like that. Minus that, we made this much money flipping this house. This is the way that it is. So this idea, really, my point is that, there aren't enough houses out there for that many people. We don't even want to house the people that we do have homeless. And the thing is that, banks do buy these up and everything else. Now, roughly, I'm trying to be fair, that's about 25%. But still, like I said, this is just, go ahead, buddy. I mean, he's pretty much turned into Matthew Yglesias here, where he's like, we need 1.1 billion people so that we can fight against China. Like I say, he tries not to use a lot of chauvinistic language against China, and he'll say, well, eventually we'll take on China, this and that. But he's very subtle. I've noticed this about him. He's very subtle about the way he attacks China. He will talk more about, we'll trade racists for refugees. Yeah, some of those refugees are going to be racist, and they won't identify with their new country. They will identify with their old country. Like I say, how long did it take for the Irish and the Italians in particular? Because I know everyone likes to talk about the Irish and Italians. Irish weren't considered white. Well, what the fuck happened? They did become white. Why don't you talk about that? But like I said, I digress. How long did it take? It took a hell of a long time, and it took them to be bought into the system. And they'll become racist too. Once they become middle class or whatever, right? They will become racist too. God damn. Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, we actually could do it. There'll be a drain on the economy. No, they will not. More people means more people consuming, which means more economic activity. Just
consume. Okay. This guy, okay. He wants to be a progressive person. I really, like I said, I really struggle to understand what he really believes. Because he's like, well, we need to change the system and everything else like that. And he's like, well, capitalism, he doesn't seem to be that much against capitalism. He's just more of a progressive ANCAP. And I think I've said this before, but that's basically what he is, isn't it? Where it's like, yeah, the economy, it's like, yeah, people need to consume. So it's like, well, if they're from different countries, they're going to want different stuff. Which has already occurred. So there's going to be more, Hispanic-minded places and, and Colombian-inspired food and everything else, right? So when you say, oh, well, they're going to consume, no, that's going to be yokel places. Like your Michoacanas and this and that, or Michoacanas, however way you want to pronounce it. That's going to happen. It's not going to help. Go ahead.
Go to your favorite search engine and type in the phrase immigrants net gain for economy and start reading. The catalog of information is endless. Okay, so now that we've talked about this from the stated talking point, let's get rid of the propaganda aspects of it. So this is from a 2018 Gallup study. That's where this number came from. 750 million. It's not 750 million refugees. That's silly. It's 750 million migrants, people who want to migrate from their country. Some of them would like to migrate from the United States. They'd like to leave here. It's all over the world. It's not talking about refugees. It's anybody who wants to migrate. Now, the assumption here.
Okay. I'm gonna show this other video that he did as well. So this is gonna be kind of a long one. I'm sorry, but I want to see the contrast in what this guy says. So there's 750 million migrants. Okay. People from all over the world. Yeah. Continue.
Is that all 750 million want to come to the United States? That's not true. That is plainly false. That isn't accurate. Well, I mean, certainly more than half of them do. No, not even a quarter. 79% of people would like to go somewhere other than the United States. The U.S. only has 21% of people who want to come here, which means
massive editing. Okay.
Means if you do the math, you're talking about 150 million in change. That's how many people want to come here. If you took everybody on the entire planet that wanted to come to the United States and let them come in, made them part of our population, they would amount to...
Made them part of the population. What does that mean? What does that mean to him? Because I have my own definition of that, but what does that mean? You don't think that some of these folks would become conservative in some way, or that they don't have socially conservative views, like they don't approve of homosexuality, this and that? You think that they feel that way? I don't know. Go ahead, buddy.
1 in 3. Doesn't seem so impossible, does it?
Mm-hmm.
It's just a talking point.
Mm.
It's one of those things that is seems almost unique to the American character. Rather than just admitting whatever reason you don't want to let them in, well, we make the problem seem too big. And then we have the perfect excuse to do absolutely nothing about it. Realistically, yes, the United States could accept every single person who wants to come to the U.S. in the world. We absolutely could. We could actually do it. I mean, it would take a long time, but we could do it with the whole 750 million.
Let me tell you why. Let me tell you why that wouldn't work out. You would have to break it down by nationality, I imagine. You would have to break it down by, how loyal they feel to the new government. You have to break it down to so many other issues. And you know what? You think it's just racism? You think it's just merely racism that people don't want this? You think maybe it's to protect, their own families, this and that? No. That's all racist. You racist bigot. I swear, I'm not going to go there. I was about to go somewhere that I think would be inappropriate, but yeah, let's continue.
We are the United States. We are an insanely large country. We certainly could. We could definitely do it with the 150 million that actually want to come here.
No.
Sure, there would be a whole bunch of those other types of people around. But as long as that's not an issue...
It's amazing to me how he will, like I say, this is something that I think a lot of progressive folks really don't understand. I'm not going to say all lefties, but I would say a lot of progressive folks don't understand. Is that these, like I say, number one is that a lot of these folks, these 150 million, may be socially conservative themselves. You may also get this sense of, they're going to do things like they have done in the old country. This is something that took a long time, like I say, once again, for the Italians, for the Irish, because this country was built on the WASPs, right? The white Anglo-Saxon Protestants, right? That's the whole idea of it. That's, something, people talk about a lot. I don't even say that like praising it. I just say that's just the way it is. And so eventually, there were enough folks who came into the system and they learned to play the game. The Irish learned to play this game. I look at that book. One day I'll read about Honest John Kelly. Part of the part of Tammany Hall and all that business, right? And helped the Irish community, but he was pretty corrupt. Same thing with the Italians, yeah. They learned to play the game. That's why you had people like Theodore LaGuardia becoming the mayor of New York, right? Like I say, I've repeated these points before, but it's like there was a time when, when folks just learn to play the game and they say, if I'm going to make it, I'm going to have to go to these schools and I'm going to have to learn to give these talking points. So as much as you're against Republicans, as much as you're against conservatives, there's going to be a disconnect where these new folks come in and they learn to play the game and they talk about, like I said, the flavor of, this time is just basically being anti-white, white supremacy. And you see a lot of Indians, and I'm talking about folks from India, who are now infiltrating this system. The co-creator of YouTube, as a matter of fact, and all this sort of stuff. This is what has occurred. They have learned to play the game, while others are going to be down on their luck. So the thing is, I don't really get this where it's like, oh yeah, well, if we accept all these folks and they'll, there's going to be a separation. There's going to be a group of folks who say, no, fuck you. I'm going to go up here and I'm going to, take my way, and I'm going to, rub elbows with, people like Mark Zuckerberg, this and that. And I'm going to make my money. And everyone else is going to be stuck there like, hey, what do we get? And you're going to be stuck with the rest of us. You're going to be stuck with us at the bottom. Just fighting for scraps. And that's what we're doing right now. We're fighting for scraps. We're begging for jobs, this and that. So you create more of this hostility. You create more xenophobia and everything else, right? It's like, well, I'm a national-born American. I've been in this, country for, this many generations. I can't find a job. Why the fuck is that? You create that xenophobia. But of course, then you'll have people like Vosh who are just like, well, immigrants in general are less, they do less crime than native-born Americans and whatnot. It's like, okay, yeah, I'll even give them that point. But the thing is that, do you think that they're? It just boggles my mind where it's just like they talk about they fall into the same traps as they always do. It's like, what about the different foods, this and that? Oh yeah, and it's just like they ignore, of course, the fact that the millions of folks who won't get jobs, who don't want to do that, they just want to have. They just want to have the American dream, right? And they don't want to work for it, this and that. I don't know. People are going to say, oh, it's racist. But it's like, that's where we are.
Problem. Because it's not going to be an economic one. It's not one of space. All of the stuff that gets thrown up, that's not true. That's just an excuse to not have to deal with the others, those from outside.
Yep. You say that now. You say that now, buddy. The thing is, why do you think part of the reason why the Roman Empire fell? It's because you had folks that were brought in that didn't feel that they were a part of the larger Roman society, and they destroyed it. That's why it's called vandalism, because it comes from the Vandals, right? But, like I say, this is just, these are measly problems to him, whatever. The thing is, I want to make sure I'm crystal clear on this. What I promote is balkanization. I promote the idea that the U.S. should break apart into various countries. There is no point in having these arguments to say, oh, well, we need to keep the country together and all this. No. No, there's no point in that. Let this country break apart. Let this country have its wars, and let all the various dissident groups out there, let them try to take over and let them try to remake this country in their image. Let them do it. And I think that's what we're headed towards. I think that, like I say, people are so stupefied right now in many ways. And I think it's a whole different sort of thing. We're going to see how bad this inflation is going to get. We're going to see how bad. Once that inflation stuff is going to hit, then we shall see. So let's kind of see somewhat the opposite of what this guy has to say. And now he's going to say we need to help build infrastructure in these countries. We're not even building infrastructure in this country. Let's go ahead and hear this.
Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Bo again. So today we are going to talk about why Vice President Harris hasn't gone to the border. Because that's apparently like a super important question. She needs to go down there with a pair of binoculars or whatever. People have asked, so I'm going to try to answer this question with a visualization, because I'm not sure it would work in any other way. This is the Northern Triangle. So this is Honduras, Guatemala, and El Salvador, the bottom.
On the bed, so you'll have to check on him.
Okay.
I mean it.
Yes, I heard. All right. And not Nicaragua. Okay.
People inside, those are people. The water is people. The floor,
Okay.
well, that's the U.S. border.
Mm-hmm.
This is Vice President Harris going to the border.
It's ironic because obviously Trump was the one that was throwing those paper towels, the paper towel rolls of folks and everything else like that. Very ironic, isn't it? Very iconic when Puerto Rico had their storms and whatnot. Remember that, folks? Remember how people shit their pants over that? I don't know why. Like I say, go ahead. Go ahead.
This is her going to the Northern Triangle. Theoretically. Not really, and we're going to get to that too. The vice president going to the border, that's nothing. That's not leadership. That's not getting anything done. That's a PR stunt worthy of Ted Cruz.
Yeah.
To suggest that the vice president of the United States needs to go down to the border with a pair of binoculars or whatever is ridiculous. Not just are you saying that Border Patrol and USCIS and everybody else, they're apparently incompetent and can't write a report, but that she needs to go there in person to see it because she can't look at footage, I guess. I don't know. Those making this claim are so used to faulty leadership to just
oh boy, it's one of those. They're not used to real leadership. I forgot what real leadership is. I've heard that from so many boomer shit lives. But yeah, let's continue.
Those that are designed to make them think that the person cares, that they have now started to confuse that with actual leadership. She went down south.
Yeah.
She went down there and was trying to figure out a way to actually tip the bottle up. To actually shift the tide there, to slow it down. I have a whole lot of mixed feelings about this, to be honest. On one,
mixed feelings.
You don't have to close the door, and you can do all this out here because he's not going back to 1.
Okay.
All right. Isn't this thing done at 1?
I thought you said it was like 12, wasn't it?
That's true. Anyway, no one's here now. She's coming in a couple minutes. Leave the door.
All right. On
one hand, I truly believe that those who uproot themselves and make that trip, I truly believe those are the best and brightest. Those are the people.
I'm so curious. And we saw this in the other one too, of course, but I'm so curious as to why he thinks this way. Why is he so concerned? Why is it? I'm going to go ahead and say this, but it seems fetishistic where he's like, well, we need to keep bringing, we should just let migrants in. We should just let them all in. And I'm just like, I really don't think if he actually met some of these folks that he would see eye to eye with them, because plenty of them, quote unquote, but plenty of these folks, I imagine, would be against transgenderism. They would be against the LGBTQ stuff. And that's really, it doesn't make any sense to me where it's like, yeah, you can be pro LGBTQIA or whatever feijoa it is, but then also support migration from other countries that don't allow transgenderism. Like I said, the United States has made homosexuality a religion. And it's true. They have. Like I say, when you see the rainbow flag on the Smithsonian Channel's logo for the month of June, you say to yourself, what in the fuck has happened? What in the fuck has happened? That's what I say anyway. But let's continue with this nonsense, shall we?
people with initiative. Those are the people we want in this country. I honestly believe that. At the same time, we can't continue to rob their talent. We can't continue to take those countries. We can't take their best and brightest. We can't take those that have the most initiative there.
This is a very interesting aspect where he's saying we need to stop taking the talent from those countries. Like I say, he was talking before about, well, we should allow as many migrants as possible, because obviously he's very pro, migrant, this and that. It's like, okay, but I guess somehow he thinks he can turn these folks. It's just like, I don't think this guy gets out a lot. And, regardless of what he says, I think that he's around honkies for the most part. But yeah, let's continue.
That's not right. Because then the conditions in those countries just continue to deteriorate.
Mm-hmm.
Now, she went down there, and she made some mistakes, in my opinion. That whole do not go thing, do not come, stay at home, all of that. Yeah, no. The Vice President of the United States went down there, and she said flat out that people are fleeing harm.
It's amazing to me the amount of rage and anger that he showed about Trump. And yet, when Kamala Harris says something, it's like, well, I have mixed feelings about it. I have mixed feelings about these things. Oh, go ahead though. I love it.
Or are unable to get the basic needs they need to sustain themselves. Those sound like super legitimate reasons to leave. Those sound like grounds for asylum to me. They have nothing left to lose.
Well, when we have troubles getting oil, this and that with the whole pipeline business that occurred, I can't even remember the pipeline because I don't care. That's not an issue. The cutting off of, support from other cities if they support BDS. These have no problems. We just allow as many people as possible.
That was a mistake. I don't believe that should have been said. Now, the idea of going down there and offering aid, historically, that hasn't worked. Aid itself, that's not going to solve the problem. That's not going to stand the bottle back up. They don't need aid. They need trade. They need infrastructure.
Once again, he goes to show how much of an ANCAP he is. Just like, well, they need trade. We need to trade with these folks.
That's what they need. Handing a bunch of money to politicians that are going to trickle down, and it's corrupt. Most of it isn't going to get to where it needs to be anyway. They need investment. They need infrastructure. They need trade. Man.
We don't even get trade and infrastructure in this country. So what the fuck are you talking about?
That might open up new markets. It sounds a whole lot like what China's doing with the Belt and Road.
Wow. So he's like, so he's openly defending capitalism. He's like, man, that would open up new markets. The thing is, okay, buddy, let me step in here a minute. These are already markets. It's just not for legitimate businesses. There are plenty of military contractors who have supported right-wing death squads and shit like that. But yeah, it's already a market. It's already a market. So yeah, just to say, buddy, I don't think you're that much of a moron, but it's already a market.
Road initiative, right?
So once again, oh yeah, Mud China. Mud China. Oh, we have to be scared of China.
Do you want to remain aggressive, competitive on the international stage? We're going to have to get out of this America First mindset. This mindset that we only worry about what happens at our borders. Beyond our borders do not live a lesser people. They need help. They don't need aid, handouts. They need trade so they can become self-sufficient, So those people who
We're limiting trade in this country. We have, taken over. This is what doesn't make sense to me. Once again, this goes to show that he is an ANCAP. He is nothing but a progressive ANCAP. And I think it goes to show, with 76 dislikes, that, people are not buying this. And they're like, what the fuck are you talking about? Saying that you want to open up markets down there? You want them to be continually screwed over? Okay, buddy. I mean, if that's what you want. And of course, now he's just like, we have to be against China. Well, China's doing things better.
have that initiative, that talent that keeps fleeing the country to come here so they can stay there, so they can improve their country. Now, I want them here, to be honest.
Why? Why do you want them here? Because you think, like I say, there are plenty of folks, I would imagine, that do not agree with your beliefs. Like I said, I don't know where this comes up. Maybe he just had a super racist dad or something. I don't know. But it's like something changed in this fool. Like, what happened to this dude? Why did he become this way? I'm genuinely curious why he is so pro-migrant coming to this country. Did he read, give me your poor, your huddled masses, and just, immediately start to melt? Like, oh, it sounded so good. I mean, why? Why did he become this way?
But it isn't fair to the rest of their country. There are a lot of issues that are down there that are our fault, that are the fault of the United States, either through the war on drugs or through our interventions or through unfair business practices that we condoned and sometimes enforced with military force.
So he admits that these countries were already part of the market, if you want to put it that way. Just the the overthrowing countries sort of destabilization market, if you will. But okay.
A lot of the issues down there are the fault of the United States' foreign policy. Maybe it's time to stop being the world's policeman and start being the world's EMT, or in this case, the world's construction worker.
We're not building things now, though. We're not building things now, genius. So, and he always says the world's EMT. We're not fixing the problems here in this country. You can go ahead and say America first all you want. I don't even care about America first. I was going to make a video called America First or Region First. And I think region is more important. I want regional power. Powers to occur. Enough of this nonsense where it's like, we all need to support what happens in Washington, D.C. No, screw them. Let this country break apart. And I do seriously think that we are headed in that direction. But of course, these morons are like, well, we need to build infrastructure. We need to build infrastructure in these other countries. We need to be the world's construction workers so that we can build these things. We're not building things in this country, not to any degree that it used to be. This is why, like I said, this is approaching a neocon point where it's like we need to spread liberalism across the world. When has that worked? And that would be my response. When has that worked? South Vietnam? Afghanistan? Oh, no, I'm only pointing out the bad ones. Oh, man. But this is what we live in with people like this.
Aid. They need trade. They need infrastructure. Anyway, it's just a thought. Y'all have a good day.
All right. This was immensely long. I'm going to have to probably cut this down a little bit because I rambled. And, of course, there were several times I was interrupted, but that's the way it goes. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And yet believable with his attitude. I find it hilarious that this guy will... How kind of two-faced he is. To me, that's kind of being two-faced, where it's like, I want them to come into this country, but, the United States is going to continue to head in a direction where separatism is likely. I really do. I think we are headed in that direction where some places will be ignored and other places are going to be prioritized for whichever reason. You know, we're going to prioritize keeping Wall Street open compared to working with other places. And that's what's going to occur. Prioritization, which is going to lead to separatism, where we can't provide the same service and services across the whole of this country. That's what's going to occur. We're not going to be able to, like he said, you can't just throw money at the issue. That's what people do. It's what politicians do in this country, though, right? We've had these toothless, pointless measures being brought about for the past 20 or 30 years or so that mean nothing. No child goes hungry, or we need to change the education standards. Education's still in the toilet in this country. There are plenty of countries who are better off. So I view it as this is let this country break apart. And you can go ahead and promote, oh, we need to do this here, we need to do that there. We need to keep expanding. Oh, we need to build infrastructure. We need to build a highway or build a train system from, from I'm trying to think of it now, the Panama Canal all the way up to, I don't know, Minnesota or something like that. We need to build a train line that goes all the way there. And it's just like, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. The fact of the matter is that this country has had its day. It has. The U.S. does not want to handle these issues. They don't. They don't care about these issues. We have come to the point now where it's just like, we're going to maintain what we have for as long as we can. And the millionaires and billionaires are going to go into space while they're flipping the rest of us off. That is where we are headed. And people like this are going to promote this idea where it's like, we need to keep on helping these people. No, there's no point in that. And you can go ahead and keep on coping as much as you want to. It's not going to happen, buddy. But that's all I have to say. I'm going to edit this down and I'll put this out later today. Hopefully y'all enjoy that. So see you later and a goodbye.